I'm Juliana Forlano here for Free Speech TV. We're at the National Conference for Media Reform in Denver. I am here with Jamilah King. I'm very excited. We both came all the way from Brooklyn.
We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
It's a far trek, but it's worth it. Denver's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like quiet. It's great.
So tell the people one of the many things that you do.
So I work at Colorlines.com. I'm a reporter there. I'm also a news editor, and my beat is largely culture. So I talk about everything from media policy to music to basketball. It's March Madness, so I've been talking about a lot of basketball, which is great. So I have a lot of latitude in what I write about, what I'm able to talk about, and there's a lot there when it comes to race and politics, which is what I like to dig into.
Is that what you're here to talk about, find out about, or just dig into here at the conference?
Yes. So the thing about National Conference on Media Reform, which I really enjoy, is that it's a space where you can make all these really wonky concepts like human. You know what I mean? Like you can actually break down the wonkiness of media tech policy and talk about the urgency and why it's important to make something like a community broadband network understood by the folks in the community that are going to be using it, right? So
why is that important for our viewers? If you can give us the...
So I have a perfect example. So in Detroit, Michigan, for a long time, there's been this group that's been working on building a community-owned wireless network. And so the way that this works is that it's a community-owned network that is built literally by the community. So you don't have to depend on Verizon. You don't have to depend on AT&T. It's not incredibly, incredibly expensive.
So without getting totally wonky,
Yeah.
It means that they can hook into each other and they don't rely on any outside.
Right.
Body
so
that
it means that
pay.
they can afford to communicate in the 21st century, which I think is a really important concept.
Right.
Yeah.
And who's trying to crush it? There has to be someone.
So
right? You wouldn't have brought it up unless it was.
So yeah, in a lot of cities, it's really hard to do stuff like that because it's actually against the law. It's a really crazy way of doing it. But for instance, it's also happening in Red Hook, Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
And the way that
It's right
it worked
down the
in Red
street.
Hook was during Hurricane Sandy. There were a bunch of people who were actually still able to connect to the internet because they had this community-owned wireless network. So. That's the great part about it. The not so great part about it is that it's not easy, it's not cheap, and there's no corporate profit in it. So of course,
So who would want to do it under a capitalist system?
Exactly. except if you want internet.
What do you think is so since it's the National Conference for Media Reform, what do you think is one of the most important things about having an independent media?
So I think one of the most important things about having an independent media is having the chance to speak out. I think one of the things for me as a woman of color growing up, I loved journalism, I loved writing, but I never felt like my voice was important enough that anyone would want to listen. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of people who don't see their stories represented in the media. They don't see their voices, they don't see people who look like them, they don't see people who share their same values. And so I think it's really important in a democracy to see people who look like you and who share your values and
do you think that's actually interesting? Because sometimes I wonder if that is a purposeful technique to marginalize cultures and a purposeful way to sort of build one dominant culture, one melting pot where everything's melted. And if everything's melted, you don't get to actually have access to the, you know what I'm saying.
So this is something that actually was in the news recently because Kim Kardashian said that she wants to raise a colorblind child. She doesn't want her kid to see race, even though it's going to be a biracial kid. She doesn't want her kid to see race. And so that's a really mainstream way of looking at something that's potentially really problematic, right? You don't want someone to, ignore
Doesn't that
your
just
culture
suggest
where you're from.
that if they see race, that means they're seeing that something's bad about one group or the other?
Right.
Why would you not see race and then say, oh, this has this positives, these have these negatives.
Right.
Each person is an individual.
Right. And at Colorlines, that's the thing I love about working there is that we want you to talk about race because it's something great to talk about. It's something that can be fun to talk about. It's something that can be engaging to talk about. It's not always sad.
Is it a multi-ethnic, multi-racial?
So yeah, we are a multi-ethnic, multi-racial staff. We're a great bunch of really fun folks. You can definitely check us out at Colorlines.com.
Colorlines.com.
We have a lot there that people will definitely want to read and tune into, and we love to hear from our readers. So
I feel like we could talk a lot longer. Maybe you'll come on my show on Absurdity Today. We'll do it when we go back to Brooklyn. I'll have you on 30 minutes and we'll hit all the hard
I would love it.
topics.
And then we can talk about animals.
And then it'll be on Free Speech TV, which you are watching right now. I'm Juliana Forlano. Thank you so much for watching.